Genetic engineering is the process of manually adding new DNA to an organism. It works by physically removing the traits from one organism and transplanting them into another. This then allows the second organism to express the traits transplanted into it from the first organism. There's two types of transplantation techniques, and the first one is the bacteria method. This is where scientists attach the genes to bacteria that already naturally change the genome of the organism that they're trying to change. They then inject the bacteria into the cells of the organism, and the bacteria naturally acts on the organism and changes its traits. The second method is the gene gun method, where scientists attach the trait that they want to be expressed in the organism to microscopic gold particles and then insert that into the cells of the organism they want to change. This then changes the cells and expresses the trait in the organism. In both techniques, scientists don't have a lot of control. For example, they can't control where the genes act on the genome of the organism that they're trying to change. Because of this, they're basically leaving it up to chance how the organism is going to change, and it takes hundreds of tries to produce even one successfully genetically engineered organism. Scientists then have to use natural breeding to improve the changed traits in the organism that they're trying to change so that they can actually be used. Examples of genetically modified organisms are glow-in-the-dark cats, which were engineered by scientists in Korea where they basically made cats that can glow in the dark. And then the second one, which is a lot more useful, is pollution-fighting plants, which are plants that are able to soak up pollution through their roots and convert it into water and oxygen, which helps a lot with fighting certain pollutants. And the third one is venomous cabbage, which is where scientists have taken traits from scorpions and transplanted them into cabbage so that the cabbage produces scorpion venom, which keeps any pests from being able to destroy the crop. Scientists have also been able to use a type of venom that only harms bugs and animals and has no effect on humans. And the third one is goats that produce a protein found in spider webs in their milk, which scientists are then able to use to convert into biosteel, which is an extremely strong material, basically made out of spider webs. And while these are a lot of strange genetically engineered organisms, the most common use for genetic engineering is to simply use it on crops to make them better off fighting against pesticides and such, or make them bigger so that they will yield more crop to the public and won't be destroyed as easily. Some of the top colleges that offer genetic engineering courses are U of I, the University of Arizona, and the University of California. Specifically looking at the U of I, which is a college that I would probably attend if I was going for genetic engineering, considering that it's so close to home and I would get in-state tuition fees covered. Looking at that specifically, the tuition and fees are $15,000 to $20,000, and books and supplies are $1,200. Room and board is $10,000, and the total cost for, depending on various expenses, for in-state tuition would be $27,000 to $32,000, which compared to the other colleges and out-of-state tuition for U of I is much cheaper. Right now, the market for genetic engineering is growing very rapidly because it is such a new developing field. genetic engineers looking for an entry-level job must have at least a bachelor's degree, but preferably a master's degree. And to conduct independent research, genetic engineers need a doctoral degree. Genetic engineers typically work in laboratories employed by private companies, and most of the ones who don't work in those settings are teaching at universities. The average salary for genetic engineers is about $88,000, which is pretty good, and the average salary for genetic engineers teaching universities is about $70,000. According to the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, job growth is supposed to increase by 31% between 2010 and 2020, which is remarkable, and it will probably continue to increase as the field develops. While I tried to contact several genetic engineering companies, all of them emailed me back or did not respond, saying that I would not be able to interview anyone. But I was able to find an interview online with a genetic scientist, Aoif McLysott. And one of the questions that was asked to him was, what did you study at the higher education level? And he studied natural science at Trinity College in Dublin, and he eventually specialized in genetics. And another question was what the highlights of his career have been so far, and he said that the highlights had been that he had possibly been the first to discover completely new human genes, and that it was very exciting for him to be the first one to make the discovery, and that it was heard all around the world. Another question asked to him was what he most enjoys about his job, and he said that his two favorite points of his job are the thrill of making a new discovery and realizing that he is the first to know about the new finding, and also communicating it with the public. And then the next question was, what skills do you think are necessary for your job? And he said, apart from the obvious technical skills, which would be what you learn in college and all of the hard work that goes into it, that creativity and original thinking are the most important, because essentially as a genetic scientist, you're charting new territory and playing with stuff that hasn't ever been dealt with before. And the last one was advice that he wanted to give students following the same career path, and he said to use your own initiative as much as possible and investigate and explore ideas, and then you're more likely to make interesting and unexpected discoveries, which is part of what I think is so interesting about this career field, is that it's very new and you can take a lot of your own initiative because there's a lot still undiscovered and left to be discovered. And a lot of what Aoif McLysott stresses is that he enjoys the novelty of the field and being able to make new discoveries, which I think is something that would be very thrilling.